So Denny Hamlin kept his cool with near-perfect execution, proving once again why he is one of the sharpest playoff veterans in the field. And Kyle Larson found himself in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons, as his aggressive move on Ryan Blaney created one of the weekend's biggest controversies. Denny Hamlin has been one of NASCAR's most consistent drivers for nearly 2 decades. Yet, every year the same question comes up. Is this finally his year? After Gateway in St. Louis, that question feels louder than ever. Hamlin and the number 11 team started the postseason with strong momentum, and his performance has sparked renewed belief that 2025 could be the season where he truly breaks through. Let's take a closer look at how this race unfolded, what it means for Hamlin's championship hopes, and why the results at Gateway might hold more weight than many realize. The Gateway race itself was full of drama. There were playoff contenders tangling, a few bubble drivers stumbling, strategy plays, and even a few late race caution flags that changed the dynamic completely. Through it all, Hamlin was steady, clean, and decisive. He led 75 of the 260 laps, which is nearly 29% of the entire race distance. While it wasn't complete domination, it was the kind of strong, controlled effort that sends a message. By the end, Hamlin secured not only his 59th career win, but also delivered Toyota its 200th Cup Series victory. That milestone win highlights just how important Hamlin continues to be for the Toyota camp and Joe Gibbs Racing as a whole. The numbers surrounding Hamlin's career are starting to look historic. With 59 wins, he is now just one victory behind Kevin Harvick on the all-time win list. Harvick sits with 60, and by the end of the season, Hamlin could realistically tie or even surpass him, moving into the top 10 all-time. That's no small achievement when you consider that only 9 drivers in NASCAR's 75-year history have reached 60 or more career victories. For Hamlin, who has 3 Daytona 500 wins and multiple crown jewel victories, but still no Cup championship, cracking the top 10 could help shift the conversation about his legacy. The timing of this win also matters. It comes during the opening round of the playoffs, meaning Hamlin is locked into the round of 12 without the pressure of points racing at the upcoming tracks. That security is huge. Kansas has historically been one of Hamlin's best tracks. He has multiple wins there, including victories as recent as 2020. On the other hand, the Roval at Charlotte is more concerning. Since the debut of the next-gen car in 2022, Hamlin has struggled on road courses. His average finish on road courses in this era is outside the top 15, with 0 top 5 finishes. That weakness could bite him, but advancing early gives the team breathing room to handle the Roval without desperation. Another reason optimism is rising is Joe Gibbs Racing's overall strength. In the first 2 playoff races, JGR has gone 2 for 2. At Darlington, it was Christopher Bell winning. At Gateway, it was Hamlin. 2 completely different tracks, yet the same team ended up in victory lane both times. This shows balance and adaptability. If JGR can win at both, that bodes well for their ability to contend at Phoenix, the championship race, which shares some similarities with Gateway. Team Penske, however, remains a question mark. A year ago, Penske drivers were consistently dominant at flat short ovals like Gateway. In 2022, Joey Logano won both Gateway and Phoenix, which directly set him up for the championship. But in 2025, that same team doesn't seem to have that same firepower. Yes, Logano and Blaney both ran top 5, but neither looked capable of winning. Austin Cindric, the defending Gateway winner, wasn't even a factor. Penske's inability to close races this year stands in stark contrast to Joe Gibbs Racing's strength, and that could be a deciding factor when the championship race returns to Phoenix. Chevrolet drivers, led by William Byron earlier in the playoffs, also factor into the picture. Byron's Iowa win a couple of weeks ago showed Hendrick Motorsports can still dominate, but Gateway reminded everyone that Chevy isn't invincible. With Hendrick stars like Kyle Larson getting involved in incidents, the playoff picture looks more open than it did just a month ago. If Hendrick stumbles and Penske remains inconsistent, the door for JGR and Hamlin in particular only gets wider. What makes Hamlin's win more impressive is the execution. Last week at Darlington, pit road mistakes cost him positions and execution was sloppy. At Gateway, everything was crisp. Pit stops were clean, strategy calls were correct, and the late cautions played right into their favor. But what happened between Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney stood out as one of the most talked about moments. Larson made what many people are calling a very careless mistake, and that move nearly ruined Blaney's playoff run. To understand how big of a deal this was, we have to start with the incident itself. Kyle Larson got into Ryan Blaney and spun him, and while many accidents on track can be written off as racing deals, this one felt different. It wasn't just a tiny bump or a racing line misjudgment. Larson had every chance to lift, give room and avoid the situation, but he didn't. The contact ripped away what could have been at least 5 or 6 stage points for Blaney. Those stage points may not seem like much in isolation, but in the playoffs, where the cutoff line can come down to just 1 or 2 points, they're massive. To put some numbers on it, the last season, the difference between advancing and being eliminated for some drivers came down to fewer than 3 points. That means even one lost stage point could be the difference between running for a championship at Phoenix in November or being sent home early. Blaney still managed to rally back to a top 5 finish, but the cost of the lost points hangs in the air. It could easily matter a lot once the round of 12 and round of 8 cutoffs arrive. Larson's move was called by some experts egregious and avoidable, which makes it one of those mistakes that can't just be brushed off. Even if it wasn't intentional, the effect was too severe to ignore. This also ties into a bigger pattern. Kyle Larson is one of the most talented drivers in the world, and nobody doubts that. He has over 20 Cup Series wins since 2021 and won the championship that year. He can get more speed out of a car than almost anyone else. But his aggressive driving style means he does make mistakes. But the Larson-Blaney crash wasn't the only playoff story of the day. Josh Berry found himself in a world of hurt as well. Early in the race, he was turned by Chase Elliott. This was another Hendrick Motorsports car making contact with a Penske-affiliated car, which only added to the tension. Elliott dove in late when he was 2 to 3 car lengths behind, and while Berry did not give up much room in the middle of a 3-wide situation, Elliott still slipped up, touched him, and sent Berry spinning into the wall. For Berry, who was already in a points hole, this was devastating. That was Berry's second crash in the first 2 playoff races, and now his only realistic chance to advance is to win at Bristol. Bristol is 500 laps long and brutal on drivers and equipment, but Berry does have some hope because he is a talented short-track racer. In fact, last spring he led laps there while driving for Stewart-Haas Racing in substitute duty. Still, needing to win at Bristol when you're already battling the best 16 drivers in the Cup Series is a tall task. The odds are stacked heavily against him. Alex Bowman also had a rough outing. For his second week in a row, pit road issues sank his day. He had both a slow pit stop and a speeding penalty. Combine that with poor qualifying, and his race became a mountain too steep to climb. That number 48 team has shown very little spark so far in the playoffs, and the clock is ticking. Bubba Wallace has been a bright spot in these playoffs. Since his big win at the Brickyard 400, his team has carried momentum. At both Darlington and Gateway, he had top 10 speed, and despite some setbacks, he fought through the field to finish well. In fact, Bubba has now scored top 10 finishes in 4 of the last 5 races. That kind of consistency is what pushes teams deeper into the playoffs. Now before you leave, just don't forget to give this video a like, smash that subscribe button, and also ring that notification bell while you're down there.